Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Nationals March to October, and I know this is not the next episode that you were expecting. And before I say anything else, I know what I titled this video, I know what you're here for me to talk about, but we'll get to that later. Hopefully I remember, I'll put timestamps in just in case you want to jump right to it. Also, I'm gonna put a poll up for you guys to vote on whether or not I should turn this into a franchise mode, but I just ask that you wait to vote on that until after you've heard my explanation for why or why not I'm thinking about turning this into a franchise mode. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and do our wrap up that we normally do right after the World Series, and that I was gonna do right before the offseason, before I had this thought of potentially turning this into a franchise mode. So we are already on franchise mode right now, but that's what I do every season because that's the only way that you can look at postseason rewards and awards in general. So let's start this time with players of the month, and let's go to April here. So let's see if throughout the year we had any players of the month here in the National League. It looks like not for April. May we didn't have anybody. June we didn't have anybody. July we didn't have anybody. Wow, I guess we didn't get hot until the end of the year, so this makes sense. But maybe starting in August we do. There's Blake Snell, a 2.01 ERA with 54 punch outs and 6 starts in the month of August, gets him pitcher of the month. There's our first award of the season. And then in September it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing, same player and rookie of the month too. Man, that's actually kind of crazy how Blake Snell can win back-to-back pitcher of the month awards at the end of the season and still finish with a 4.34 ERA. Just goes to show you how much we really did struggle the first over half of the season, really. All right, then let's take a look at the actual end of year awards here. And actually, I think if I remember right, when they put us in here, it immediately shows the World Series MVP. They never give it to pitchers. So even like postseason MVP, which probably should be Cade Cavalli, they're probably just going to give to some random hitter like Tristan Casas. As far as World Series MVP though, besides pitching, I can't really think of who stood out as being a potential MVP. So let's just see who we got here. It's Ian Happ. Okay, he did have a good World Series. I remember that. Struggled for most of the postseason, then brought it around at the end. What about overall postseason MVP? Again, it should be Cavalli. It won't be. It'll probably be either Casas or Keibert Ruiz. And it's Keibert Ruiz with Casas runner-up. So that's actually kind of cool. We don't have many Nationals left from that original team on opening day of year one, but all three of our postseason MVP winners are original Nationals from that team. All right, now let's see about regular season MVP. There is no way that it's Joey Meneses again. It can't be. I don't really know if anybody else put together a MVP caliber season on our team. I know Ian Happ had a good year. I know Soto had a good year. I don't know if either of them were so good to have won MVP. And yeah, I wasn't keeping up enough with the rest of the league to know who it would be otherwise. So let's just see. Let's see who wins the MVP award here for year 3. And it was Manny Machado. Okay, I guess that makes sense given he was player of the month in the last 2 months in a row. But finally, for the first time, it's somebody not named Joey Meneses winning the MVP award in this March to October. We didn't even have anybody in the top 3. How about over to the American League? We've got Aaron Judge winning it. All right. And dude, look at Eloy coming in 3rd in the MVP voting. I just look at it. Look at what he's done in this March to October. He has played 3 seasons in a row of playing every single game, and he's put up those numbers. I'm a White Sox fan, and this hurts that he doesn't do this in real life. Not even close. All right, move on to Cy Young. I'm guessing it has to be Corbin Burns if he's runner-up for the MVP, and yep, he is. We don't have anybody amongst the finalists either here. I guess I shouldn't really expect too many awards this year, given that for the most part we weren't as good as we typically have been. Over to the American League, it was Carlos Rodon with Alek Manoah the runner-up. That's pretty funny considering I've seen Yankees and Jays fans go back and forth over which real life season between these two is more disappointing. All right, what comes next after Cy Young? It's the batting title title, which goes to Manny Machado. Also, AL is Vlad. And then we have the reliever of the year going to AJ Puck. I knew every time I had to face him, he was difficult this year. He had a .61 ERA with 47 saves. That's crazy. Only 6 walks. I think we'll have Rookie of the Year next. Yeah, we do. Again, none of our guys. I don't even know if we really had any rookies this year. But the competition did not seem too fierce here because the winner had a .454 ERA with 116 walks. Are you kidding me? That's possible? And then the third place finalist here had a .681. How few rookies were there this season that a guy with a .681 ERA and a whip of almost 2 finished third in the Rookie of the Year voting? Is it simply based on that 12-9 wins-loss record? Is that all they take into consideration? Oh my god, and then the runner-up here didn't even finish the season on the big league squad. He only played 117 games, and he was pretty mediocre. I want to see about the AL now, if they're just as pathetic too. The winner, okay, no, the winner was legitimately good. Geraldo Diaz, and I swear, this name's familiar, right? This was somebody I was looking at in the draft. I'm pretty sure it was, because I remember somebody like this who was supposed to be really good now but had a low potential, so they were just going to get worse, and that's exactly what he did. But before he got too bad, he put up a 30 homer 300 average season, winning Rookie of the Year. Then you had another 300 average with Colson Montgomery, so that is a couple pretty good rookie seasons in the AL until it falls off here with Ford Hayes. All right, then moving on, we got the Hank Aaron Award for best hitter going to Bryce Harper for the 2nd year in a row now. And then it's just going to be on to Gold Gloves. So we don't have any award winners or even finalists up to this point, right? Yeah, no, for regular season awards, we don't even have a finalist yet. So let's see. Our only hope left is that one of our guys either won Gold Glove or Silver Slugger, or else we're not going to finish with any regular season awards here. So catcher, no. First base, no. Second base, no. Third base, no. Shortstop, no. There's one, Ian Happ in left field, and I don't even know if he played any left field this season because we had Juan Soto. But we got some hardware. Ian Happ takes home a Gold Glove. Center field, no, and then right field, no. So that's it. That's all we've got so far. But now on to Silver Sluggers. Joey Meneses still had a good enough season to three-peat as the DH Silver Slugger, so there we go. And then catcher, no Keibert Ruiz. First base, no. Second base, no. Luis Garcia could have three-peated also with Meneses. Didn't even finish as a finalist. Third base, nobody. Shortstop, nobody. And then outfield, we didn't have anybody win that either. Okay. So we had an Ian Happ Gold Glove, and then a Joey Meneses Silver Slugger, and then our postseason awards, and that's it for this season. It makes sense though. It was definitely our worst season of the 3, but who cares? At the end of the day, we won again. 3-peat World Series winners. Which brings us to the main topic of today's episode. So I know after we wrapped up the World Series, I was pretty adamant about the fact that we are going to come back out for a 4th season in the March to October and beyond. But after I stopped recording and I was thinking about it, the more I thought about it, I can really see how this series could be more fun if we continued it from this point on in a franchise mode instead of staying confined in March to October. Now, I haven't made any decision for my own of what I want to do. That's why I have that poll up, which, by the way, that's over in the community tab on the channel. And also, if I remember to, or if I can, if it lets me, because I don't really know, I'll try and link it in the comments as the pinned comment, so you can just click on that. It'll take you right to the poll, and then you can vote whether or not you want this to turn into a franchise or stay March to October. But personally, I am kind of leaning towards the idea of continuing this on in a franchise mode, and there's plenty of reasons why, but there's also reasons why we might want to stick with a March to October, so I'll go through those and then we can make our decision together. So the first thing, and probably the most important thing to bring up, is that if we do turn this into a franchise mode, that doesn't mean that we won't have any more March to October on the channel at all. I'm actually starting to work on a brand new March to October series, and I don't want to say too much about it because the first episode will be coming out soon, but just know that if we do stop this March to October, that doesn't mean that there won't be any March to October. But then within the mode itself and within what we've done with this team on March to October, the goal from the very first episode, it was titled Worst to First, and I think here after 3 seasons straight of winning the World Series, and also now that we're the #1 overall ranked team too, we've gone worst to first in just about any sense of the way you could define that phrase. So it almost feels like we're ready for a new challenge, you know? What left do we really have to accomplish within March to October? I think another good thing about moving into franchise is there's so many things that you just don't get control over within March to October that moving into a franchise, I'll have that control over it. So things like call-ups and send-downs, I'll finally be able to make the decision myself who gets called up, who gets sent down, who we actually have on the roster. Another big one is trades. I mean, I don't have to wait until a trade happens to pop up, and even when they do, I don't have to decide between 3 different pre-arranged trades. I can actually build trades on my own. Free agent signings, not like there wasn't the ability to sign free agents before, but we were kind of limited to just like the top 100 free agents. Even something like picking our jerseys for a game, like we weren't able to pick our jerseys, and I know there were a couple of you guys throughout this year who were like, oh, I want to see the City Connect jersey, and I was just like, I can't. You don't get that option in March to October. We would also get to play full games, which we never got to do. We never got to play full games, see our starting pitchers actually start a game. We get to dip into minor league games whenever we want. We can have control over the day-to-day rosters, so like if somebody's struggling or if we're facing a specific pitcher and it's like, hey, I want this guy playing or I want to adjust the lineup in this way, we can actually do that before going into a game, which that's more going to be big for the playoffs. And I feel like all this control over what we can do on the roster kind of fits what my plan was for this roster moving into year 4, because in terms of what we'll be losing in free agency, it's not much. It's really only Lane Thomas and then Matt Moore, who wasn't even on the big league squad at the end of the year anyway, along with the random signings like Adam Simber and Josh Bell. But because we're not losing much, I wasn't planning on doing much in free agency, and we have so many young players on the cusp of getting called up, like Leo Blanco, Jose Ayala, Brady House, Alonso Acevedo, and then all these center fielders. So my plan was I wanted those roster spots to be filled by people that we would call up through our system, but within March to October, you don't have that sort of control, so it's just kind of like, well, I hope they call up James Wood instead of just like re-signing Kevin Kiermaier. But like I said, there's also some negatives to moving into franchise mode that it's worth talking about, and I think the biggest negative and the biggest thing that I would worry about if we move this into a franchise mode is just the fact that I've tried to make franchise series in the past. I've tried to make franchise videos and I just haven't been very good at it. Now, granted, the last time I even tried to make a franchise was like almost 3 years ago now, so I'm pretty confident that I'd be better at it now. But I really don't want to like get a start into year 4 on a franchise mode and then just make bad videos and then the series fizzles out. I want to stick with this team, you know? And I don't really think that would happen because I think you guys would stick around and you guys would want to see new episodes, so you wouldn't really let me just let it fizzle out. But as long as you guys know that moving into franchise mode, there's definitely going to be a learning curve. There's definitely going to be a rough period where I don't know what kind of format I want to make the videos in, so you guys would have to bear with me. And I definitely wouldn't be able to make the videos as frequently as I've made March to October videos. Like, it would not be every other day like I typically try to have the March to October come out, at least at the start. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'll get into the rhythm and I'll get the hang of it, but for probably the first maybe month, maybe more, I don't see myself being able to release a new episode of a franchise every other day. But then also within the mode itself, one of the things that I think we'll miss moving away from a March to October is the fact that we won't be able to have fast tracks and like those attribute boost call-ups. Like, that's a really really fun aspect to March to October to like be able to take a guy like James Wood, who's already a really good prospect, and then just play one good game with him and all of a sudden he's like an 82. Or take a Elijah Green or a Brady House, who are a B potential, get a fast track, and then they become an A. We're not going to be able to do that if we move into franchise mode. And I think some of the people that'll affect the most is somebody like Jamal Magruder, who's a D potential, and he's already a 69 overall, and he's been kind of fun to see progress. But without the chance of bumping up that potential through a fast track, he really doesn't have a shot at becoming anything better than what he already is, so he probably would never make the big league squad. But again, going back to what you can and can't control in March to October, you don't get to pick who gets fast tracked, so it's still a system where we just have to sit there and hope that a certain player gets a fast track opportunity. I guess really the only other thing that would be a negative difference within how the mode works itself is just the fact that we would have to deal with injuries. I mean, I could turn it off, but I don't really want to. Like, if I'm in a franchise mode, I want it to be more realistic and I want injuries to happen. But like, we're just kind of used to not having to worry about injuries in March to October, so I could see that as a potential negative change if all of a sudden we have to start worrying about injuries. But I think that's really it in terms of what I wanted to cover. So now it's all up to you guys to vote. Like I said, I haven't really made a decision for what I want to do. I'm just leaning towards franchise, but I could go either way. So make sure you go over to the poll, vote on whether or not you want to see this turn into a franchise, and I'll probably just abide by whatever the final results of the poll is. I didn't even think about putting like a final cutoff date on the poll, so I guess I'll just say like by Sunday or something. Whatever the results are, I'll just go with. So then yeah, I guess that is it for today's episode, and depending on what the future holds, potentially the last episode of the Washington Nationals March to October. So thank you guys for watching, thanks for hearing me out, and thanks for going over to vote in the poll. But for now, that's it for today, and I will see you next time.